Hey guys, this is Dan the GM welcoming you to episode 20 of What the Dice. We're pumping out episodes every other week. If you haven't checked out Nytlin's Twitch, you can not only catch some of our live shows, but you can also catch her doing some of her amazing art. All you have to do is head to twitch.tv/Nytlin, Nytlin. She streams Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and every other Sunday you can catch our live show. So, double whammy. Well, enough of that from me. Let's get to this week's episode. Frost clings to the air as we huddle close to the fire. We can hear the sound of travelers making their way to the nearby town to stay in the inn to escape the bitter cold. We look up at the storyteller, who seems mostly unfazed by the cold air. Opening the book, he runs his finger across the page. Well, me friends, it seems as if our adventuring party has stumbled into a new mystery. Now, me friend, what if the curse of the cursed swamp isn't actually in the swamp? What if, me friends, it follows those who survive? Well, I know, and you don't. So, me friends, you must sit back, relax, enjoy the warmth of the fire, and hear more of my tale. So, Kalila has walked off to the tavern, basically saying these people are sus.
Saying she'd done had enough of this.
Just had enough of this. Walked off. Like, or at least that's what my ears told you. If you like watched my ears, it was that whole like, I don't know about this, and walk off.
So, Kalila has walked off, ears pinned to her head. Clyde and Short Round, what would you like to do?
Defibulous being kind of curious on why she went off. He's going to go follow her and see if he can figure out what's going on here.
Clyde?
Clyde is going to check around the perimeter to see if there's any differences within the trees that are around. Not just the fields, but also the trees.
All right. I need you to roll your perception.
Yeah, I see trees.
All right. Kalila and Short Round, you are at the tavern. Inside, you notice that there are logs set in the fireplace, but no fire is lit. The tables and chairs have been cut and cleaned and are ornate in design. Beer is flowing freely as people are chatting and laughing. Everyone is still that thin, eyes slightly inset, but don't seem to have any ill effect. You don't hear any coughing. You don't hear any telltale signs of sickness.
Defibulous out of breath. Slow down! You got a much bigger stride than I do.
Oh wait, at the door. I let him catch his breath.
Why'd you run off? Oh boy.
I don't trust that old man. He's not speaking correctly. Not as what he did.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand the whole worshiping gods thing, but the whole gaunt and drinking and smoking and doing other things seems really, screwed up.
It does. And the fact that they were all very passionate about the fact that it was a Desna temple. I'm pulling out the side that I care about Desna and worship Desna, but the way they spoke before, anytime they mentioned their town, anytime that they spoke of the temple, spoke of these lands, spoke of themselves, spoke of the town, they were, yes, the gods were blessed. They also included very specifically Desna, the god that was supposed to be dedicated to this land. They're completely glossing over the specificality of the god that they're worshiping, and they're just blankly mentioning all of them. That doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, it's kind of like building a machine backwards. It doesn't work right. And I mean, I don't know if they ship their food anywhere, but if they're not making food and shipping it places, who's not eating?
Right. And they weren't. I understand if they were getting extra funded to help build this temple from the main holy city. The priestess herself came out and blessed the land. So I'm not surprised that some of the quality of their life has gone up since the temple has been blessed, but this seems out of place. This seems out of order, and I want to find the religious leader, the old elf man. I'm
You,
looking for him.
you mean the level of decadence this town is exhibiting? Technically, I mean, he'll point towards like the finely carved wood on the tavern. I mean, it looks great, but yeah.
I don't know anything about what's to be expected on towns and how fancy things look. I haven't seen enough towns.
I mean, I've lived in a fair few towns.
Well, I
Pardon me.
trust your judgment on that, so it's a little crazy too. Also, how did they get suppliers and buyers for this stuff so quickly?
Well, the one thing that's kind of confusing me is like the whole like they're growing the crop stuff there to smoke and do with other things. That's not normal, crop for an outlying outpost like this. You would have food, things that were needed, not like ridiculously large crops of whatever is growing over there for smoking.
I agree. It doesn't make any sense. And for them to come to that snap judgment so quickly when they knew that we were out there helping them get rid of this cursed swamp and the problems plaguing these lands. It's not right. And so I want to find the leader. If not, I suggest that we head to the holy city quickly. They might have a better idea of what to do or what's going on.
I concur on this. It's all strip bolts to me.
I'm just gonna pause and go, what does that even mean?
What mean?
Strip bolts?
Oh, you don't understand what strip bolts mean?
I'm just gonna kind of give them this really look.
Okay, so he will kind of like get himself all ready. So a regular bolt, you screw it in normally, right?
Sure.
Kalila would have kind of some sense of what he means because screws are,
Trap.
yeah, kind of like a spring. Because she has used traps before, which have, depending on if they are a newer design or not, would have these strange things that can be tightened or loosened depending on how strong you want the trap to snap closed.
Yes, follow.
All right. So a strip bolt is a bolt that the spirals on the bolt are ruined, and so when you twist it, it either won't turn like it's supposed to and not move, or it just spins uselessly. It's a broken bolt. It doesn't work. So around my family, strip bolt means a bad situation.
Ah, so when you say it's all strip bolts to me, you either mean it's completely useless and you don't care about it, or they're all bad.
Now, generally, I use it in more in the terms if it's bad. If I don't care, I just say I don't care.
Good to know.
But this is all strip bolt.
This is all bad.
Exactly. Now you're catching on.
She'll nod and go about looking for the designated elven leader of the town.
Defibulus will follow.
You see him sitting at the tavern, his hands slowly flipping through a book, and he looks up. His eyes are tired, and he smiles. Ah, me friend. It seems you have seen my replacement.
Your replacement?
Yes, the town had voted that my age does not represent what they want.
Pardon my outrage. You were chosen by the priestess
Yes,
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
they chose someone of my family that is younger. I did not know my sister had a child, but apparently she did. And he came here to visit and decided to stay.
How do you not know your sister had a kid?
Me and my sister are several continents away. It
And
takes a
go ahead, sorry.
he decided he wanted to visit family, and I, being the oldest, was the last to visit. He visited and took a liking to our town. I took him in, and he was a the village feels he is more dedicated to Desna.
This sounds like a bunch of wet coal to me. I mean, this guy just dropped out of the blue to meet an uncle he hasn't probably ever seen in his life and just took over?
So
I
how
mean,
is he more dedicated to Desna? He hasn't even mentioned her name.
He lightly shrugs. He goes, "Well, he knew all the prayers better than I did. He has the Book of Desna, which I don't have, and instead of wearing a symbol of Desna, he has her symbol tattooed upon his chest.
big whoop.
Um, and the people decided that yes, I was blessed by the god or by the priestess, but it doesn't matter because he is of my family, so the blessing should move on to the younger."
Never heard of that. Where's
Well,
the hide?
You don't see the weirdness in this, do you? That this guy just showed up out of nowhere claiming to be your nephew and he just took over and pretty much kicked you to the curb? You don't see anything wrong with this.
he goes, "He didn't kick me to the curb. I've been teaching him some of the ways of the town."
Defibulus is gonna look at him and see if he's just as gaunt and screwed up as everyone else.
Yeah, that too.
He looks a lot more sickly. His skin is more pale. It looks like whatever disease hit him the hardest.
Have
Um,
you eaten anything?
Yes, every time I've eaten, I felt ill. When I don't eat, I feel better.
Okay. What food
I
have
have
you
already reached
eaten?
before the farmers stopped growing. I ate some apples and some grapes. I
Same
purchased some
ones
meat
that
from some.
look horrible and on the tables?
No, before that, I had some that just after you left, and I felt ill. I thought maybe, the fruit had gone bad. I had ordered some meat from some hunters, and that too set bad, and I felt ill. If I
Defi-
didn't eat, I felt better. I have reached out to the Holy City and asked for them to send out a doctor to look me over, as I fear I have some strange disease, and when I drink beer or things that are fermented, I feel a little better.
Defibulus is curious. He's gonna take out one of his actual rations that he got before he came here
Mhm.
and offer it to the guy. Tell me, does this make you sick?
He looks at it and
Well,
sniffs
I
it.
was gonna look at it too and make sure it looks safe.
It looks safe. He sniffs it and he goes, "That doesn't smell very appealing."
Well, I mean, trail rations aren't meant to be appealing, but they're nutritious and good for you.
He goes, "Well, I will try anything once."
Wait.
He reaches out,
Yeah, she'll stop
gripping.
him.
Go ahead.
She'll stop him.
Okay.
I don't think it might be the food, but rather the corruption that's still in you.
He nods. He goes, "That was my suspect. That's why I have requested for a.
Have you tried leaving the town?
I have nowhere to go."
I understand that. Has anyone left the town?
The hunters travel constantly.
They show signs of the same as you, sickness and only being able to indulge in, lack of a better term, luxury items.
He shrugs. Goes, Some do, some don't. Some, like the half orcs, seem to be more resistant to whatever plagues our town, and the elves of the forest, they seem to be more resistant. But I'm from the plains, and this seems to have racked my body harder. The humans seem unfazed for the
Would
most
you be
part.
willing to travel to the Holy City with us?
He shrugs lightly. Yes, I would. I don't know what will happen, but I'm
I
willing
want
to
you
try.
to leave this area, and I want to see if you heal. One of the things that we experienced, we believe we took care of the cursed swamp. You can travel through it like a regular swamp now. But there was a cobalt encampment just on the other side that showed the same signs here of that sickness when the attack happened. Do you remember that? Yes?
He nods.
So it took some time after we had left the swamp. We went and furthered our adventure to find some things. When we came back a third time, the land had healed. And it's only 10 minutes past the road up there that the wildlife has returned to normal. I want you to leave this town with us and go to the Holy City, and I want to see if that heals you. We'll protect you on the way, and we'll find you the doctor you need in the Holy City. Chances are he won't be able to leave very quickly, and by the time he gets out here, it might be too late.
He nods. He goes, "Well, if you believe this is best, I will
Hey,
follow."
hey, Mr. Leader guy.
Yes.
Has everyone just also been kind of like just going through the motions of what they've been doing? I mean, aside from like the fantastic work outside, which top notch stuff, but has everyone just kind of been like just almost like automatons, just walking around and doing their things and not even focusing on anything else?
When they work, they seem, as you say, automaton. But when it comes to reading books of culture or books that are more than just survival, they read it with a passion I've never seen. The farmers that are growing the teas for pleasure, or the brewers that have started to brew these strong ales and beers, if they're not doing something that would be sustaining, if it is something that gives pleasure or something that pushes, in a better term, our culture, it just seems distant.
And you're like the most religious person here, aren't you?
I
He's the
thought
most
so.
religious person I've ever met.
I thought so, but I questioned that with my nephew's arrival.
Well, I don't, like I said, like I told Kalila, I don't understand the whole religion thing, to be honest with you, but you're the most religious person here. You get replaced, and you're also the sickest one here. I don't know, but I think there is something seriously wrong here.
You also seem to be the only one that's not indulging in something pleasurable.
He looks at the beer that you can tell has gotten to room temperature. He goes, I do this because it
It
makes.
helps you. Yes, I
Yes.
understand that, but you aren't indulging. You're sustaining yourself.
He nods.
Let us go find Clyde. You stay and rest. I want to make sure Clyde's okay with me inviting you to the Holy City, but I truly believe that might be the best bet for you.
He nods.
I'll stay with him, keep an eye on him.
Thank you, Short Round. I'll go find Clyde as fast as I can.
All right. So fast forward,
Scurry, scurry,
Clyde
scurry.
and Kalila meet up.
Where are you?
What have you been doing the whole time, Clyde?
Yeah, Clyde's turn to talk.
I mean, it's kind of their conversation takes a while. I understand that.
Yeah.
But walking the perimeter of the entire town in the forest and looking at trees and stuff, that's going to take some time too. So
Yeah.
that's what I am doing.
So one of the things you've noticed, Clyde, is the trees that they are growing are. You would. Do you have knowledge nature?
Yep, nature and religion.
Go ahead and give me a roll for knowledge nature.
13.
So you would recognize most plants in their young form. One of the things you notice is that the trees that they are growing now are more hardwood. They're not pines or spruces. It looks like they're starting to grow hardwood, which is usually used for furniture. It seems like they have swatched out areas on the outside of the forest where they have been planting them. The
Okay.
people that are taking care of them seem to have a little bit more vigor to their step than the people that are just dealing with the standard trees.
I'm gonna ask them. We have not been gone that long. Where did these trees come from that are already planted and growing?
One of the tree caretakers is leaning on his axe and sees you, nods. He goes, "Well, we had a visitor that was selling saplings, so we bought them all up. These are hardwoods. This one's a mahogany, and they are what we're going to use to improve our town. We are no longer going to use the soft wood, and that way our buildings can withstand more. We'll use the softwood for fires when it gets cold if we need it."
Okay. It's gonna take years of growth to these even be able to use for one piece of furniture, though.
You know, it's, well, we feel it's the best. We have been ordering in logs from other towns if we can, but for the most part, we're trying to show the world that our little town can produce the best furniture and show that we have more culture than even the Holy City.
Okay. So more than the Holy City. Okay.
I'm spazzing out so much on my brain on this, you bastard.
I'll continue around and see if I, see any differences in the trees that I would have noticed.
For the most part, you notice that they are only cutting down the soft wood that you would need to keep a fire going or to use to brew beer and ale. It seems like they are really trying to rely on better, fancier woods for their construction. You also notice that the merchant shop, the merchant headquarters where all the trade comes in, there is fancier clothing being brought in. There are books and plays instead of like survival guides or guides on growing food in areas that need help. It seems like even in the goods have changed to luxury. Like even some of the plays that you see, you would recognize as they're elven written, and they probably cost a couple hundred gold just to purchase a single copy.
Where is the town getting the money for these items?
Um, the the lumberjack gives you a light shrug. He goes, "Well, when you sell off everything you don't need, you have access and abilities to purchase the things that make you better and more cultured."
Like, what items did everybody give up?
He shrugs slightly. He goes, "Well, no one feels as if we need healing potions, so we have sold off all of those. We have sold off all the trail rations that we no longer acquire or require. We've gotten rid of anything that the town has chosen that we don't need. And all but the old priest, we were all in agreement."
Okay. But everybody, agreed to this, including, the mayor.
Yes, like I said, Everyone except the priest that was once in charge all agreed that we did not need.
Okay, just making sure. So, why is he no longer in charge?
Well, his nephew came in town and had a better devotion to Desna, to the point of he had tattooed her symbol on his chest. He knew more of the updated prayers and worship. He had the books that show that he has a better understanding of Desna herself. So we asked the priest to step down and let his nephew take charge.
Okay.
It took some time, but he saw our way.
I do have a question. Does the priestess that was here have the most influence with the gods? You would say.
We believe that the one that worships the god the hardest has the most sway. Since the priestess is no longer here, we had to choose what we felt was best.
Oh no, I can understand that. Oh, I was just asking you the question. Would the priestess? Would you say the priestess has more um you know qualities um than the person that's in charge right now?
Absolutely, she worships the gods with her entire being.
Perfect. Then you're going against the priestess that you just said had a higher faith than the person you had because she chose the other person. I don't understand that when with my faith in my goddess, if she had influenced someone to make them the head of something, there is nothing in my um, thought process that would want to change that because that would be the God's will that I would be going against.
Well, we
I
did
will
keep.
return to you because I need to speak with some of my other companions about this. Since this is, as you have just said, going against the priestess who has a higher order with the gods than the current person that you have put in place.
He
What is it?
nods and goes, "Well, the gods be with you." Picking up his axe, he moves off. Can I get a quick perception check?
From just him.
Uh,
Yes.
10.
What?
10.
You don't notice it. All right.
Notice nothing. When do I ever notice anything?
Yeah. All right. I guess Kalila and Clyde, you two wanted to speak.
Well, he's watching. Oh no, wait. You said Kalila and Clyde. I heard. I don't. Okay.
So I will see Kalila, and if because she's looking for me, and I'll come up to her and I'll put my hand on her shoulder and kind of turn her. We need to find um, the person that is charged, and the person that is no longer in charge, and figure something out. I have some information that they are specifically going against the priestess that was just here.
Okay, we're gonna catch each other up. Word vomit.
That
Because I'm gonna tell him about everything that I discovered that Short Round and I have talked about with the what's his name?
We never gave him a name.
Name him.
Old man.
We will call him Ishil.
Should we take Ish? I think we should take Ishil to the holy city.
mm, before we do that, I need to meet with Ishil and his nephew together.
I can show you where Ishil is. Short Round is staying with him. If you want, I can go and find his nephew.
Yes, please.
All right, I will take him back to Ishil, get a description of his brother and go or nephew and go find him.
You find his nephew back at the temple area. He is currently praying with one of the laborers, blessing the hammer so that his strike will be true and that the nails will always go in straight. He looks at you and gives you a bow. He looks young, as if he is in his 20s. So, very young elf to be traveling out by himself. He gives you a long bow. And how may I help you, child?
Can I have a moment of your time?
Of course. He shows you a place to sit, and he sits near you.
I will actually motion and goes, well, my companions and I were hoping to speak with you a little more privately. Do you mind following me?
He nods. He goes, "Of course."
And she'll make her way back to Clyde, but also make sure it's not at too great of a pace so he has enough time to ask whatever questions he wants to Ethel, whatever, before we get back.
Okay.
Ishel.
Oh, okay. Ish. I got it. Ishel.
Clyde and Short Round, we are back to you.
Sure. Go ahead.
I will speak to Ishel and ask him actual specific questions about his sister and her native land, I guess, like where she was or where she is, how long it takes Ish to get here, that kind of thing.
So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw you guys on the world map so I can kind of show you what's going on. It's going to be easier this way. So, Ishul explains that his sister is from this area.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, so here's where you guys are at. His sister is over here in one of the great elven cities.
Okay.
He doesn't know how long it takes to travel there because he only writes letters to her. He chose to stay in this village when his parents decided to leave. He was old enough to be on his own. He inherited his family's inn, or his family's home, which he converted into an inn for travelers. He explains that his nephew arrived a few days after the priestess had left, and that through conversation with the entire village, it was suggested he let the younger elf take over, because he had a better understanding of Desna. Because his nephew was formerly trained.
Okay. I'm going to ask that, I'm guessing you have already confirmed all of his travels. That would be correct.
He said he confirmed what he could before the village decided that it was time for him to step down.
Okay. Is there any questions that you wanted to ask him that you have not to confirm that he is who he says he is?
He goes, no, he bears the family's crest and brought with him a letter in my sister's handwriting. Reaching into his jacket pocket, he pulls out a small letter. Signed by his sister, it says that she has sent her son to him to see what it's like living back in their homeland. He wishes her brother the best and that she hopes that he can teach her son everything that the temples of the land she's from could not teach. She explains that he does have the best education that she could afford, but felt that he would do well in learning from a small village rather than a large town or a large city.
Gotcha.
He goes, so I have no reason not to believe that he is my nephew. He does bear our family crest that comes from my sister.
I mean, I don't know about elves and their crests like that, but those things can be duplicated. I mean, I've seen some pretty impressive forgeries myself in my time.
He nods. He goes, I thought the same until he perfectly described my sister and my parents.
Also, not. Where did all this stuff come from anyway? I mean, all the gardening stuff that you guys have done, and that stuff wasn't here last time.
Merchants started bringing them. When they found out we were blessed by the holy city, we started to see nicer things come in, and the merchant guild decided that it would be better having the nicer things rather than what I felt we needed. But I was outvoted by the town.
I think you just got really strip bolted there, buddy.
He stares at you, clearly trying to understand what you mean. No, putting it into perspective, he nods. He goes, "If you mean I was done wrong, yes, I believe it to be true, but I can't go against the will of the village. That is not what the priest would do."
But you were appointed to be in charge by the big priestess person that was in charge of all of the religions, though. How do you get demoted from that?
Well, if the sheep do not follow the shepherd does not have a flock.
Then the shepherd should get a dog, one of those dogs that like chase the sheep around and get them brought back.
You know, that means we're the sheep in that analogy.
Meh.
Or no, we're the dogs, not the
Technically,
sheep. Yeah,
You
sorry.
would be the dogs, yeah.
We're the dogs. I'm a cat, not a dog.
Woof.
Woof.
Yeah.
Meow.
Should have named myself Lita.
Defibulous just kind of looks and it's like, do you really? I mean, are you in really good terms with your sister that she would consider sending a kid out here?
Yes, my sister and I have written letters to each other for years. I know of the arranged marriage she had. I was told of the great temple that she got married in.
But don't you think it's a little weird that, she wouldn't have written you beforehand saying, "Hey, I'm going to send my kid over here to study religious stuffs with you," instead of just sending him with a letter going, "Oh, by the way, I'm here."
My sister is impetuous at the best of times. I feel as if she meant to send the letter and forgot. My sister would do that a lot. Sometimes I would receive 2 or 3 letters in one single moment because she had missed several writings. It didn't seem out of character for her.
But that's like sending a shipment of valuable materials and not going, "Hey, by the way, guys, I'm sending you some important stuff. Be on the lookout." And, "Oh, here's my kit," or "Here's the stuff," without any warning.
The elf shrugs. He goes, "My sister, as I said, is impetuous at the best of times."
Okay.
Maybe I just don't understand elves then.
We have invited your son or your nephew over here as well, just that way we can talk to both of you at the same time.
He nods. So around this time, Clyde and the nephew walk in.
Clyde?
Not Clyde, Kalila.
I mean, they both start with the same letter. It's okay.
Yeah, they can get confusing at times.
All right, but we walk in.
Yes.
Good day, sir.
He nods. Seeing his uncle, he gives his uncle a bow. The uncle returns the bow weakly.
Defibulous is going to eye the nephew.
He gives you a friendly smile and he goes, "Are you the friends that the young cat folk wish to speak to me with?
We are.
And how may it be of service?"
Well, I wanted to ask you, well, first off, to see this wondrous tattoo that I have been so many times informed of that you have of the goddess.
Absolutely. He unbuttons his tunic. Huh?
Detect evil on.
All right. You don't sense evil. He
Okay.
removes his tunic. He removes his tunic slowly, and tattooed from shoulder blade from shoulder to shoulder down to his belly button is the symbol of Desna. Tattooed and scarred into his flesh. He goes, I received this as my way of showing my devotion to Desna.
You said you received it as your way of showing. So how did you receive it?
I
you
spoke to the
yeah.
clerics. I spoke to the clerics of the temple I was learning at. They said that we must all go through trials to show our dedication. I chose to take a branding. Once the branding had taken and set, I spoke to one of the tattooists in my town and had the scar inked so that it will always be visible to those who see me.
Okay, that is a very devout thing to do, and I commend that. I have a scar of my own that was given to me.
He smiles as he begins to button his tunic up.
Can I sense motive on this guy?
Absolutely. What'd you roll?
19.
He is telling the absolute truth.
As he perceives it, or in actuality?
That's for you to determine, not the roll.
I know.
Yeah. It's what he believes is the absolute truth. So if he believes he's telling the truth, you know.
Oh, I know. I was just having fun with that. Furious is still going to eye him suspiciously.
Okay.
I'm going to ask him when he started feeling the effects of no longer having to eat.
I want to know when he was affected, or if he was affected, actually.
He thinks for a long moment and goes, well, I haven't had a meal in about a week. Before that, my meals became smaller and smaller. It was about 3 days after I arrived that I started to feel less hungry. The clerics and the priests that I studied with always taught that you should listen to your body when traveling to new continents, as your body will tell you what you need or don't need.
And you don't think that it's completely unnatural that 3 days after you arrived, you started feeling sick, just like this town, and then decided to start. You got rid of all of your crops to feed your people with, and decided to make pleasure resources instead? Don't you find that a little odd?
Well, it's not uncommon for adventurers of yourself to have, oh, what were they called? Rings of sustenance.
Everybody in the town has rings of sustenance?
Well, it is not unheard of to bless the land with such things.
People have blessed the land with sustenance, and it doesn't completely negate a person's hunger.
Well, when
You're not making any sense. Open your eyes.
he nods and goes, well, if you are not hungry, why eat? If you were not thirsty, why
Do you
drink?
not think that is a problem? Your town was attacked by kobolds. There was evil curses going around, and you just all of a sudden find it's okay?
Well, there was no kobolds when I arrived,
So you're
and
ignoring
the people that have
problem.
already... He goes, well, I left it to the town to vote. They chose to start taking things of pleasure.
A leader.
And
I'm.
and have you noticed that everyone is like wasting away to nothing at this point?
He goes, yes, they all look sickly, but I have checked them all. We have tried using healing potions, and healing potions do no good. We have brought in local clerics to look them over, and they see nothing wrong. There are no curses that we have been able to find. I feel that this is just an evolution given to us by the gods.
I think your bolts are stripped.
I think you're just as corrupt as the town folk. You don't see the problem, and everything you say is trying to rationalize the problem.
He smiled.
You are defending and rationalizing everything that is wrong. And you don't even care that the town was attacked and people were sick and dying, and you're okay to just let this play out? And oh, well, if they die, that's the natural order of things. You tried, or wait, you didn't try because you embraced it.
He raises an eyebrow to you and shrugs lightly. He goes, "Well, it sounds like you have spoken to my uncle about this, and you will be siding on him."
What?
No,
Can have another vote and kick you out?
he raises an eyebrow. "Well, if you would like to get the city together, we can."
No, because your city is corrupted along with you. I'm taking your brother out of, or your uncle out of here.
He goes, "If that is what my uncle wants, I will wholeheartedly accept that."
You should come too.
He
Here's a
goes,
question.
"Mhm."
The food that you guys used to grow here before you started growing whatever you're smoking and chugging down like in copious amounts, was it food just to feed this place, or was it originally being sent to other places to feed people? Because now that you're not making food because you guys are obviously going on an extreme diet and turning into skeletons, that food isn't going to other people either. So, yeah, was that food supposed to go elsewhere too?
He thinks for a moment. He goes, "Well, according to the town, they made enough food to feed themselves. That the trade that they did was of timber and of herbs that we still produce." As
I'm not buying it.
this conversation continues,
Oh.
Ishel
I
slowly
think Clyde
stands.
was going to go say something before you cut that off.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to ask this gentleman if he would mind taking a walk with me to where the kobolds were. Just yeah, but I'm going to say to make him aware of a possible future threat.
He looks at Clyde and shakes his head slowly. He goes, "I cannot leave as my temple is still being constructed."
No, it's not a leave thing. It's a walk. That's like 10 minutes.
He shakes his head. He goes, "I do need to return to my duties. My flock
Oh,
awaits."
this would
So
be
you're
part of your.
ignoring a safety problem.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand. This would be part of your duties to protect your flock and knowing of any disadvantageous things or people that are around.
Corrupt. Other than proving us wrong, you won't.
Perception check,
Everyone or just one person?
everyone.
That's an 18.
Nice. 25.
All right,
How did I start doing?
Defibulous.
22. Sorry, I had to math.
Yep, you three notice that Ishel has stood up, has gathered his things, paid his tab, and has placed a key next to his nephew. Looking at the three of you, he gives a weak smile and he goes, "It is time for us to leave. We do no good pushing this matter.
Agree. What is the key for?
My home."
Why does he need your home?
He has nowhere else to go and no place to stay.
So nobody in the village will take him in?
Look, Kalila, you have to understand, it is his nephew, so he's doing what he feels is right.
Fine. Kalaya's just going to be quiet and let her ears just lay flat for a while.
The old man slowly exits.
I'd follow it.
The bar seems to fall silent, watching him leave. As you leave, the nephew exits behind you and begins chatting with others, seeming to discuss what they're going to do to improve the culture of the town. All of you, minus Rune, mount horses and slowly exit as the sun sets on this village. And that is where we are going to call game.
Well, me friends, it seems as if Ishel, the priest that was chosen by the great priestess, has been replaced. This me friends, has rubbed Kalila the wrong way. There's also now a strange disease ransacking Narrowcloud. The party is now leaving, having no other choice but to return to the holy city and hope and pray that someone there may know a cure. Well, me friends, I do wish you great health, and as always, may the dice gods bless your every roll.
We here at What the Dice would like to thank Paizo for creating Pathfinder, Epidemic Sound for our music, as well as Sirenscape for our sound effects. If you would like to reach out to us, you can do so on Facebook at What the Dice Pod, Twitter at What the Dice Pod, and of course email whatthedicepod@gmail.com. And if you liked our little adventure, please share us with your friends and rate and review us.